Yo, welcome to the Frankie D'Astoli Show. I am your host, Frankie D'Astoli. As always, excited to have you guys here. If you are still in that new year phase of creating some new goals, I highly recommend that you guys go back and listen to episodes 10 and 11 of the Frankie D'Astoli Show. I talk about creating meaningful goals, what I call soul goals. And then I also talk about who and how you can actually become the person that you need to be in order to achieve your goals. And that is in episode 11. So if you haven't listened to those, I definitely highly recommend that you go back and take a listen with those two. But today's an exciting episode. Today, we are actually going to gear it a little bit more towards real estate investing. We are going to talk about how to acquire your next real estate deal for less than $200. I'm literally going to show you guys how to do it without a dime out of pocket, how you could do it for completely free. And if you want to get just a tad bit creative and spend a little bit of money, a couple C notes, a couple blue bills, I'm going to show you guys how to do it with up to $200 where you can make a little bit more damage and get a little bit more creative with it. I did this class on January 2nd. It was Thursday night through Distoli's Dojo, REI.com. That is my program. And I will be continuing to come out with some free classes every single month, continuing to put out some free content. But if you guys are also looking for mentorship or coaching or a course on wholesaling real estate, I have those courses. I have that mentorship program in Distoli's Dojo. You can get all of that by going to Distoli's Dojo, REI.com. But today, I'm going to throw you guys some great content on how to get your next real estate investment deal with very little money out of pocket, if anything at all. So I'm very, very excited on that. I am going to be doing a screen share today as well. So if you already listen to the podcast off YouTube video, you're going to see all of that here. But if you are listening, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of the major podcasting platforms that the Frankie D'Astoli Show is on, you might not necessarily be able to see the screen. The way that I explain everything is going to, for the most part, be very, very achievable through the audio version anyway. But if you want to get a little bit more in depth with it, if you want to look at the slides that I create, if you want to maybe get home and take some notes if you're listening to this in the car or wherever, you could find the screen share on YouTube, and you could also find it on Distoli's Dojo, REI.com. I'm going to have it posted on the website page as well. And last thing I will say in regards to that, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you might be listening, if you wouldn't mind, please like, follow, subscribe, rate the show, review the show. I love your guys' feedback. I really, really appreciate it, and it means a lot to me. We've been making the Frankie D'Astoli Show now for a month. It's been awesome. I've had so many great people commenting and saying some really, really awesome things, and it's extremely rewarding. And my real, goal with the Frankie D'Astoli Show is just to get, as much valuable information as I can out there related to real estate, related to Catholicism, related to entrepreneurship and leadership, and hopefully, change some people's lives in the process as my life has been changed by so many people that I've listened to as well. If you have any questions, you can follow me on Instagram at Frankie D'Astoli _REI. Shoot me a DM. I'm answering every single DM that I get. You can hold me to that. If I don't answer your DM, you can, publicly announce it or whatever the case might be. But I'm answering any DMs that come my way on any questions, regardless of what the topic is. So feel free to reach out to me. But I'm excited for this show. If you are still in that new year, new me phase, which sometimes I'm not really the biggest fan of that phrase, whatever you want to call it. But I actually have something that I want to talk about that I think is actually going to create a new you, if that's something that you're interested in. And I'm going to start it off with a little bit of a backstory. So in December of 2023, because we just finished 2024, December of 2023, I was in jiu-jitsu. And I was rolling with this guy. His name's Orlando. And Orlando was in real estate. We were talking a little bit about that. We were talking about some jobs. At this point, I was solely in wholesaling real estate. So again, a little bit of background. I've wholesaled real estate for 3 years. In that process, I also got my first house hack. After I stopped wholesaling real estate, I still do, but it's not my main engine. Now my primary engine is I buy properties at a discounted price. I renovate them. I rent them out. I refinance them. And then I repeat the process. I do what's called the burst strategy. But I came from the wholesaling background. I came from the underworld of real estate, which is called wholesaling. So I'm rolling jiu-jitsu with Orlando. And he's with Keller Williams. We're talking about some stuff. He wants to get into the investment side of things. I'm telling him that I wholesale real estate. And afterwards, we're like, yo, we should just, get together, grab lunch, see if we could work together. So I end up going out to lunch with him a couple weeks later. This is like the end of December. And we're having a conversation. We're not even actually having a conversation at this point. We end up getting lunch. We sit down. And every time that I go out for lunch, and I would do this even when I was a regional sales manager and I was traveling all over the country working with reps on wholesaling real estate, every time we would go to lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever it is, I would tell the person that I'm with, I would say, hey, listen, I say a prayer before every meal that I eat. If you want to join in, by all means, but if not, no pressure at all. I just want to let you know I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable. And every single time that I say that, and I don't know, some people might be lying to me, but they always say, oh my gosh, yeah, please, like I would love to join in. So I did the same exact thing with Orlando. I said, hey, look, I say a prayer before every meal that I eat, if you would like to join. And he was like, oh, I would love to join. So I say the prayer. And for any Catholic out there, you might know this prayer. If you don't know this prayer, I'm going to put it in the show notes. It's a beautiful prayer to pray before every single meal that you eat. But it goes like this: in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Bless us, O Lord, for these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. It's a Catholic prayer for most people that are Catholic. You may know that. Again, if you don't, I didn't, truthfully, until like I, started dating my wife, like her and her family would say it. And that's where I picked up on it about 5 years ago. But I would go out everywhere. I would say this prayer. And I said it with Orlando. And Orlando turns around and he's like, hey, I'm also Catholic. And for an hour and a half, we talked strictly about Catholicism and religion and life. We didn't even talk about real estate. So the whole time that we were there, the whole goal was actually to talk about real estate. But what ended up happening was we brought Christ into our conversation and it took a whole nother turn. So as I'm having this conversation with Orlando, he introduces me to this program. And this is the program that I was talking about that's truly going to create a new you. The program is called Exodus 90. Some of you guys might have heard of this already. I didn't when I first heard it from Orlando. It's a 90-day spiritual retreat that focuses on letting go of all the comforts and commonalities that we have in life and finding Christ through discomfort, finding freedom through the uncommon way of letting go of all the freedom that we have. And when he was telling me about this, at first I didn't realize the magnitude of it. I was kind of just like, okay, like interesting. Like every kind of spiritual retreat that I kind of thought of was like, oh, like I'll go out and on like some crazy adventure for like 2 days and like maybe pray a lot. Like that's kind of what I had thought it was. But then when he was telling me this is over the course of 90 days, and he didn't really go too much into details about like what it actually, had. But I love this type of stuff. And I always love trying to challenge myself. So like I was kind of like drawn to it. But and I can't really emphasize this enough, guys. Like it truly changed me. And over the course of these 90 days, I had a significantly better prayer life. I had a better life at home. I read probably about like 10 books over the course of these 90 days. It was the biggest amount of books that I read in the period of 2024 as a whole year. I grew significantly closer with Christ. I realized that there were so many things that I had at my fingertips at all times that, were taking me away from my family, were taking me away from my relationship with God, were taking me away from being the best worker that I could be. And ultimately, through all of this process of Exodus 90, I came to the conclusion through prayer and through meditation and talking with Jesus that I was going to leave my W-2 job. And he had given me the confidence to do that through this whole program. And shortly after that, I left. And, 8 months later, we're buying, my partner and I bought 15 houses. And now I'm full time in real estate. And I'm not saying that this program is for people that just want to succeed financially. That's absolutely not what I want you to take away from this. But what I'm trying to get at is it's a life-changing program. And there is so much that I've done through Exodus 90 that I still do daily. And they're just great habits to have. But having said all of that, it's coming back up. So it's 90 days. It goes from this year. It starts on January 20th and it runs to Easter Sunday, which is April 20th. So it's the 90-day period. And over the course of the 90 days, I'm going to go through some of the disciplines that come with it. But you read through the book of Exodus. And through the book of Exodus, it's where God brings his people out of Egypt, out of slavery, out of bondage, gets through Pharaoh and all of his army into desert wanderings where his people are reliant on him into the promised land, which leads us into that Easter, right? And it's really, really beautiful to reflect on. And you really actually, at least for myself and for every other, man that's done Exodus 90, this is a men only program. There is a female program for Exodus 90 as well. I don't have the details on that. I could definitely get it and then try to talk about it more. But really what I took from this is all these things that the Israelites were going through, centuries and centuries ago, so long ago, right? We go through a lot of those same things now. And, we don't realize it, but we are, in a not a literary term, but in a figurative, we're a slave to a lot of the things that we consume every single day. And it takes us away from our relationship with God. And that is what really Exodus 90, emphasizes. It's, again, finding freedom in uncommon ways. So, again, I'll go through some of the disciplines. And if this is something that seems really, really daunting because there's a lot of disciplines and it might. I just want to like really encourage you guys that there are some, there's people, there's guys that are doing this that are all ages, all different, backgrounds, all different jobs. It's even, you might be hearing all this, you might be like, there's no way that I could do that. I promise you, you can do this. And one thing that's really, really great about Exodus 90 is it emphasizes the importance of a fraternity. So you have a fraternity of brothers, and you could find a group in your area. You could start your own group. If you have any questions on this, please DM me, and I could give you more details on it. But you rely on your brothers who are going through the same exact thing that you are, and it helps lift you up. It helps move you forward. And if you're also someone that's like, I'm just way too busy, I'm a doctor, or, I'm an accountant. We're coming up on tax season soon. Like, I have way too much going on. I really want to encourage you guys to still pursue it, right? Because regardless of if you're totally locking in on every single discipline, which I hope that you guys are, but you're going to get a lot out of this. Even if you falter a little bit, you're still going to grow deeper in your prayer life. You're still going to have a lot of accomplishments. So I encourage you guys to do that. But without further ado, here are some of the disciplines. So every single day for 90 days, this is how it goes, except on Sunday. You do get to relax one discipline on Sunday, but every single day it goes like this. You're going to read through the Exodus reading and you're going to reflect on it. You're going to make a holy hour each day, which means you are going to do an hour of prayer every single day. And again, some people are probably like, yep, can't do it, right? I'm struggling to do 5 minutes prayer. I promise you guys, once you start doing an hour of prayer, you're going to want to stay to that hour every single day. And it's going to become something that you really, really look forward to. You're going to make a morning offering every day, a quick prayer. You're going to do a nightly examine, again, a 2 to 3 minute examine at night. You're going to get a full night's sleep, 8 hours. That's something that's really actually emphasized within Exodus 90. We want 8 hours of sleep. We operate best when we have that 8 hours sleep. This is my favorite. You're going to take cold showers. I know everybody's probably tuning out already. Cold showers. I started this in Exodus 90, which was January 1st last year. I take cold showers every day, guys. It really wakes you up. It keeps you focused. There's so many health benefits to it. It's really, really awesome. But again, kind of, that uncommon freedom. Taking a hot shower is one of the greatest pleasures that we have. Like, getting rid of that really kind of like unites you to God. Avoid unnecessary smartphone use, avoid unnecessary computer use, give up video games, give up TV. That was a hard one for me, but giving up TV, that's one of the reasons why I was able to read so many books. I reverted to reading books. I reverted to spending time with family and with time with Christ. Give up alcohol. Might be a hard one for a lot of us. I understand that for sure. But again, another one that could really kind of, lift you up from these things that hold you back. And alcohol is not a bad thing. Obviously, taking it in mass consumption can be and is. But again, just one of those things. No soda or sweet drinks. This means black coffee, guys. All right. And again, I know another challenging one, but again, I still do cold showers every single day and black iced coffee right after. Again, just absolutely outstanding. Also, those creamers, they're basically like cancer in a plastic, container. We need to get rid of those. No snacking between meals. No desserts or sweets. Goodbye ice cream. Listen only to music that lifts the soul up to God. Peace out, 21 Savage. No unnecessary purchases. Check in with your anchor every day. That's your fraternity brother. Weekly fraternity meetings that you'll have. We fast on Wednesdays and Fridays. We do no meat on Wednesdays and Fridays. We exercise 3 times a week at a minimum. And we celebrate the Lord's Day every Sunday, which means you go to Mass every Sunday as long as holy obligation days. So again, I know it's a ton. I know hearing that, you guys are probably very, very overwhelmed. You're like, I can't do this, but I promise you guys, this is it is the most life-changing thing that I've done in recent history. And it's truly united me closer to Christ. It's really increased my baseline of faith. And it's allowed me to do some amazing things financially as well. It's just really separated me a lot from some things that I felt have been holding me back. So if you are like me and you like to really test yourself and push yourself, that is a program for you. And I would love to have you a part of it. I'm going to do mine with my main group of guys that I always do it with, but I am also going to be doing another type of subgroup there. So if you'd like to possibly join in my subgroup, we'll see if it makes sense, or start your own group. Definitely something that we could work on. But Exodus 90 starts January 20th, leads up to Easter Sunday, and I would love to have you guys there. So that is my kind of pitch on Catholicism for the start. We are going to get into this episode of how to acquire your next deal for less than $200. I'm going to share my screen, and again, I'm going to post this on YouTube so you can see the video on YouTube if you like, or you could go to Distoli's Dojo, rei.com, and find it there. So let me share my screen. All right, let's get it popping. So how to acquire your next real estate deal for less than $200. And I'm going to show you guys again how to do it for nothing out of pocket. But if you want to make a little more damage, we're going to go up to 200. So a little bit about me. I explain this in anybody that's new to Distoli's Dojo for real estate investing. I am Sensei Frankie D'Astoli. Here's a little bit of my resume and my background. I started wholesaling real estate in September of 2021. I personally wholesaled over $1 million in assignment fees. But something I'm even more proud of is I've helped others wholesale over $1.2 million in assignment fees. I got this great privilege and pleasure by doing this, by traveling all over the country. I went to Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Ohio, Kentucky, New Jersey, PA, probably a couple other places as well. I was traveling all over the place, working with some amazing reps and helping them become successful in wholesaling. I now moved to a BRRRR strategy. That's where I do most of my, real estate investing. I own a portfolio of 17 rental properties, some with a partner, 19 doors total. I'm a third-degree black belt in karate, a white belt in jiu-jitsu. That's where Distoli's Dojo kind of came together, combining real estate and martial arts. I'm married with a 1-year-old daughter and a son on the way as well. But that's just a little bit about me. We're going to get into some necessary vocab. This is very, very important to know. Before we get into the lesson, just want to make sure everybody's kind of clear of what are some of the terms that are going to be used. So the first one is a lead, right? And a lead is anyone who shows interest in what you have to offer. That's important to know because there's a distinction between a lead and a prospect. Now, a prospect is a qualified lead, someone who actually can become a customer, someone who you might actually go out and run an appointment with, things along those lines. And when we talk about pulling a list, which is this next vocab word, we're talking about pulling a group of leads, not a group of prospects, right? And that's something to really understand. When you go to pull a list, you're pretty much just like, grabbing things out of a barrel at that point, right? It's not qualified. Your job is to make them qualified. Your job is to figure out where are those prospects within that list. But when you pull a list, you're going to pull a group of leads. Now, a list could be as many or as little. A list could be 2 leads, right? Because anything more than 1 is a list at that point. Or it could be, 100,000 leads. There's no necessary quantitative number to it. But when you pull a list, you're pulling a group of leads that you have intention of targeting. The last vocab word is called skip tracing, right? It's the attempt to achieve the owner's contact information. So when you get a lead, right? The lead is usually going to come with the property address. And this can be in a sense of like, let's say I'm walking down the street, right? And I see 123 Main Street. That's a potential lead that I might want to target. When I skip trace that lead, I am now getting the owner's contact information along with their name, along with their mailing address, a bunch of other details that can come with that as well. So those are just a few vocab words that I really want you guys to know before we kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. And now we're going to talk about the 2 types of leads. So there's 2 types of leads. There's paid versus organic. And I break these down into 2 actual approaches. And the approaches that I use is called a shotgun approach versus a sniper approach. So let's look at the paid lead method. And really that method co-aligns with the shotgun approach. Now, when you go the paid lead gen form, and you kind of go with more of that shotgun approach view, you are actually going to be more so saving time, but it's going to cost you more money. And that is the trade-off every single time with these things, guys, is usually when you go for any type of lead gen, you are trading time for money or vice versa. So here are some examples of more of that paid shotgun approach lead gen. We're talking first one, direct mail. So direct mail is used across a bunch of industries, right? It's not just real estate, right? We think about it for real estate, but let's just say for argument's sake, a new dentist moves into town. A new dentist is most likely going to send all the residents in town a piece of direct mail trying to get them to come in, right? A new laundromat opens up. You're going to get things about laundromats. I get direct mail all the time from people that want to cut my lawn, right? All of these things, direct mail is a very, very powerful form of marketing. It's still one of the most tried and true methods, but it's a paid method. And what that means is that you're going to spend money. And I'll give you guys a quick example. If you pulled a list of, let's say, 10,000 leads, which to some of you guys might sound like a ton, some of you guys that might be a regular month, right? But 10,000 leads is most likely, if you went just strictly direct mail, is going to cost you about $7,000 to mail to those 10,000 leads that particular month, right? Let's just say, for instance. Now, that's the reason is because direct mail postcards for real estate investing usually cost anywhere between 60 to 70 cents per postcard if you're doing your standard postcard. If you get a little more creative, you do some of those kind of fugazi checks, stuff like that, you might even spend north of $1 per postcard per piece of mail, right? So just to give you guys an idea of what a paid method looks like. Another paid method could be text campaigns. I personally use a site called Launch Control. I love it. I think it's great. I've also used another site called Lead Sherpa. There's other ones out there called like Smarter Contact. There's a few other ones. You could do some sort of mass text campaigns. Now, when you do those mass text campaigns, it's not as time efficient as direct mail, because with direct mail, guys, you send out direct mail, guess what? You don't have to do a thing. The company sends it out. All you need to do is have your phone ready to be answered those calls that come in. With text campaigns, you kind of have a little more trade-off. You really don't have to do much, but every single day, let's just say you could send out 500 texts. You need to personally sit there and click enter 500 times. You also need to create certain text campaigns. There's a little bit more time that's involved in there, but again, it costs more money because ultimately it's still a very big time saver. You have some other stuff like pay per leads or social media ads, where you could, promote your company so that when people search on Google, like I want to sell my house, your company could come up. Or if you post something on Instagram, right, you could pay to boost those ads. Again, paid, the shotgun approach is more so going to cost you more money, but it's going to save you time. So if we look at the other end of that spectrum, we talk about the organic leads, which I consider more of like a sniper approach, because usually it's going to take you a little bit more time. It's going to cost you time, but it's going to save you money. And in some cases, which we're going to talk about, you're going to be able to do it for no money out of pocket. So let's look at a few examples of more of those organic lead gen forms. The first one that I love, guys, that is just not utilized enough is driving for dollars. I think driving for dollars is absurdly valuable, whether you're a new investor or you're an experienced one, especially mainly in that new, I really do say so, because it has a few different purposes to it. When you drive for dollars, it's the act of getting in your car or on your bike or going for a run, whatever it is, and you're going in an area that you want to invest in, and you're looking for properties that fit your criteria, right? So if you're a real estate investor looking to do the BRRRR strategy, which is really what I do, when I go driving for dollars, I'm looking for rundown houses that I could add value. I'm looking for boarded up houses, overgrown grass, stuffed mailboxes, broken windows, just deferred maintenance. That's the type of stuff that I'm looking for when I'm driving for dollars. But let's just say you're not, right? Let's just say you are looking for a new primary residence. You could go driving around in the area that you may want to buy into, start your family or grow your family. And you could do the same exact thing. Look for properties that you might have interest in potentially moving into or living in, whatever the case is. But again, extremely underrated form of lead gen. And also, like I said, it's multi-purposeful because it puts you in your market, which is so important. I'm going to make another episode about how to really understand and choose your market, but it puts you in your market. It gets you to understand the blocks, the areas, where there's some investors doing some renovations, where they're not doing renovations, X, Y, and Z. So driving for dollars can be completely free. We're going to talk about that, but there's some other ways that you can do it as well. Cold calling. Again, everybody that's probably hearing this is probably like, I do not want to cold call. I'm petrified, right? And most people are. And that's why one thing I love about Distoli's Dojo is we have a subgroup dedicated to cold calling. We have members that are in that group that meet every single week that cold call together. And when you do those things together, guys, they tend to be a lot more fun. But cold calling is a great way that's completely organic, right? You could spend a couple dollars, which we'll talk about, on generating those lists and pulling those leads, or you could do it for completely free, which we're going to get into. Referrals could be completely free also. Do you know anybody that's looking to sell their house? If they don't know somebody, they might know somebody else. Or if you've worked with somebody already in the business, maybe you've worked to sell their house, or you bought a property from them, do they know anybody else that you could also get referrals from? That could be completely free. Joint ventures. Joint venturing is when you partner up with another investor on a deal. Now, I'll give you two examples of this. One could be, there's a wholesaler that's trying to disposition, means trying to sell a deal to an investor, trying to sell the rights of a contract to an investor, and they need help moving this deal. You could jump in and say, hey, I see you have this property in, Lexington, Kentucky. Do you have any interest in possibly joint venturing on this? I might know some investors in the area. I could bring an investor to you. We're going to talk more about that, but that's combining that. Even if you're not on the wholesale side, you could look at joint ventures as well as maybe a potential seller who owns a piece of land, who doesn't have the ability, the contracting crews, the developers to develop that. And you might be a developer and say, hey, can I joint venture with this seller? They might not necessarily want to sell the land just yet, but can I put myself in that deal where we could both make money? That's a joint venture. Could be completely free when it comes to lead gen. Bandit signs might cost you a couple $100s. You can get a few signs made. We buy houses, cash as is, no contingencies, whatever it is. You could push those out. Again, very little money required on those, but more so effort of having to run around and post up those signs. Door hangers is another great one, which we're going to talk about when we talk about door knocking, which I think is awesome. So before we get into that, let's get into some good lead gen practices, right? What are some good practices for generating leads? Number one, always make something out of nothing. This is absurdly critical that we need to understand. And when I operate best in real estate, it's when I got a little bit of swagger, guys, right? When my mojo is flowing, this is really, really important. When I see that I operate my worst is when I'm feeling defeated. And when you're doing lead gen, guess what? You're going to feel defeated. That's kind of how it goes, but you got to try to make something out of every single lead. There's a few reasons to do that. Number one is to keep the mojo going, but number two is to try to capitalize on your return on investment, right? If I reach out to a seller through a cold call and I say, hey, are you looking to sell this property? And they say, no, I'm not looking to sell it. There's a few questions that I could ask off that, right? I could ask, do you have any idea of maybe selling it in the future? Can I create a follow-up opportunity for myself? Are they an investor that maybe owns a couple other properties? I can say, hey, I totally understand. I appreciate you taking the call. Do you have any other properties that you might be looking to sell? I could see if I can get a lead out of some other property that they own, or maybe they might be looking to buy real estate in the future, right? Hey, are you potentially looking to be an investor in the future? I'd love to put you on my buyers list. I could send you any deals that I get, under contract. There's always a way to try to make something out of it. Do you know anybody else that might be looking to sell? We offer a great referral program. Try to get something out of every single lead. It keeps the ball rolling, and you'll be surprised actually how much value and return you get off by doing that stuff as well. Number two, recognize that it's a numbers game. And I got one of my students, Eddie. He's phenomenal. He crushes it. And he understands this process. He makes a ton of cold calls, a ton of cold texts. And the way that he says it, he says, every no that I get is closer to the yes that I'm destined to get if I keep doing the process. And that's what you guys need to understand, right? I think everybody's so afraid of rejection. Have the mindset. You can think about it one of two ways. You can think of, I keep getting rejected. This is pointless. I'm going to stop. Or, hey, I got rejected again. That gets me closer to the acceptance that's on this path if I stay the course, right? So remember, it's a numbers game. The person that calls and texts and reaches out to more people a day, as long as they're doing it intentionally, is going to be more successful than the person that reaches out to less. And lastly, tell everybody what you do. Understand that you are a walking brand. You really are. You are a walking brand. You could walk around and you could keep to yourself and not talk about how you invest in real estate, or you could walk around and you could go to meetups and you could go to properties and you can go to, events and talk about how you're an investor and all the stuff that you do. You could wear your company merchandise and all this stuff. And what you're going to realize is when you start telling everybody what you do and you start getting your name out there and people start understanding who you are and recognize you, it might not bear fruit right away, but eventually leads will start coming to you, right? I see this on Instagram all the time. I'm big on Instagram. If you're not following me, Frankie D'Astoli _REI. I post a ton about deals that I'm involved in, good things that happen, bad things that happen. I show a lot of people as much as I possibly can. And what I get from that is students into the dojo. I get from that people that are curious, that want to know more about it. But I also get other people that have deals that are sending them to me saying, hey, are you interested in this property? I know that you're buying in this area. What do you think about this deal? Would you want to come take a look at it? All of this stuff that comes from that is all organic. It's just because I continue to tell people what I do. And if you do the same, you're going to see those same results. So let's get into it. What everybody wants to really know. Here is how you could get started today. I'm going to show you how you could literally start today for less than $200, as little as $0. So we talked about some vocab words, which is awesome. You guys already know. The first thing you're going to want to do, and you don't have to do this all linearly. I just want to say that you don't have to go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is. You don't have to start that way. You could kind of bounce around. I'm going to give you just more so ideas on how to do it for less than $200. But the first thing that you're typically going to want to do is you're going to want to pull a list. And again, I know that you guys already know this. A list is a group of leads. There's a few sites that I've used that I'm going to share with you guys on how to pull a list. Number one is PropStream. PropStream has been around for a while now. I've used it on a handful of different occasions. I have a membership for $99, and that's what the monthly fee is. Now, when you sign up for PropStream, you get more than just being able to pull lists and lead gen. You also get things such as being able to run comps, getting, real detailed information about homeowners. There's a lot that really comes with PropStream, honestly, even more that I even utilize and really know. But you could pay a membership for $99 a month. And when you pull a list and skip trace it, which again is attempting to achieve that owner's information, for every lead that you skip trace, it costs about 12 cents on PropStream. And that's usually like the standard across the board for most of these sites that allow skip tracing. Some are really cheap, but most of them are like 12 cents. So let's just say I see a lead that I, want to target, and I find it's 123 Main Street. I could go in PropStream. I could skip trace that lead and it'll cost me 12 cents. So for argument's sake, let's say you pull a list of 1,000 leads. You could have that entire list skip trace through PropStream and it'll cost you $120. That's really how it kind of goes, right? The second one that I've used is called Deal Machine. Now, Deal Machine, you might want to double check this just to make sure they're still running this. But when I signed up, it was $149 a month. However, it came with free skip tracing, which is really, really awesome, right? Because, and there's even something that's even more awesome than that, is it actually gives you a monthly budget of 30,000 leads. It's 30,000 leads that resets every single month that you could skip trace completely for free. Now, for me personally, I've never even used 30,000 leads in a monthly basis. You might have a legitimate, absolute, outstanding acquisition engine that you're doing 30,000 leads easily, right? Which I know companies that are. For me, myself, I don't need that many. But long story short, it gives you up to 30,000 leads and it's totally free. So if you pay the $149 a month, you can skip trace for free. And one thing that I really love about Deal Machine is it has a mobile app and you can skip trace on the mobile app, which is a way that I actually found the 4-property portfolio that my partner and I closed on. So it's really, really great tool. And that free skip tracing is super clutch. It's a little bit more pricier than PropStream, as you can see, over about $50 extra a month. There's another site that I've used before called Batch Leads, which is more on that cheaper side. It's $71. However, you do get skip tracing for 12 cents. So you're going to be paying a little bit less than the PropStream rate and about half than the Deal Machine rate, the 12 cents per lead on the skip trace. But to my understanding, it doesn't have as great capabilities as like PropStream and Deal Machine does. However, I have noticed pretty accurate data every time I pulled from Batch Leads. So that is one opportunity that you could, exercise as well. But if you're listening to this and you're saying, man, Frankie, I don't want to spend $99, $149, even $71 a month on these deals, on these programs, I want to do this for completely free, like you had mentioned. There is a site that I've used, guys, called True People Search. Some of you guys might have heard of it. Some of you guys might have never heard of this. It is totally, totally free. And you can skip trace deals, leads, sellers, properties, all through True People Search for completely free. So if you find 123 Main Street and you're saying, I want to know who the owner is, I want to know what their phone number is, you could go on True People Search, you could put their address in, and I'm telling you guys, 9 times out of 10, it has always been accurate for me. Everybody that I've talked to has said the exact same thing. They say 9 times out of 10, it's been very accurate, and it is completely free. Here is the only downside. You can't actually pull a list. That's the difference, right? So when you pull a list, again, it's a group of leads. You could have 100, 1,000, 100,000, whatever you might pull. True People Search is per lead. You need to search that lead individually. So again, it's great for a true sniper, but someone who maybe is looking to spray a little bit more, you might need to go that PropStream, Deal Machine, Batch Leads route, or find somebody that could just, skip trace a list for you. So once you have that list, you're going to want to start doing cold calling and cold texting. Scary. I know everybody's freaking out. Again, I promise you guys, it's really, really not. It's just getting over that initial hurdle of doing it and accepting the fact that rejection is part of the game, right? I get rejected every single day when I do lead generation. It's part of the business. Like I mentioned, we try to make something out of lead and we make sure that we remember it's a numbers game. That's really important. But once you pull that list, start cold calling, start cold texting. Once you've either paid for the list or you've done it free through True People Search, at this point, when you're cold calling, cold texting, it doesn't cost you anything except your time. One thing that I will say with this, guys, you'll want to create a Google Voice number at a bare minimum, right? Some, apps out there that they have their own line, they could record the calls, they could do all of that stuff. That's a little bit more intricate. If you want to do that, I totally recommend it. I think it's a great idea. But at the bare minimum, create a Google Voice number. You could connect it straight to your Gmail. If you have your Gmail, connect your, route your phone with it, and the Google Voice will give you a, kind of like veiled number in a sense, right? So if you're calling out of, Cincinnati, Ohio, it'll give you a number that's, relative to Cincinnati, Ohio. So when you're calling people, it calls from that number. And again, it's great for 2 reasons. A, privacy. Keep yourself separated from, your sellers. You don't want to have your personal number being thrown around out there. And 2, organization, guys. When you are doing all of your calls and texts on your regular number, they get lost in the weeds. You're getting calls from numbers you don't recognize. You might not answer them. If you're doing all of your lead gen in Google Voice, when you get a text or you get a call, guess what? You're going to say, hey, it's coming from Google Voice. This is a lead. This is a potential prospect, a potential deal. Let me answer the phone. Let me answer this text, whatever it is. And it just allows you to put your real estate investor hat on a little bit faster. So create that Google Voice number, get that list, start those cold calls, start those cold texts. The third lead gen that you could do, which we talked about, is driving for dollars, right? Finding those distressed properties, skip tracing those addresses. And again, this could be either free or usually will cost up to 12 cents. If you're using a site like PropStream and maybe you're driving around and you collect, 10, properties that you want to skip trace, you could go in and skip trace those after you're doing your driving or your running or whatever the case might be and pay 12 cents per skip trace lead. Or if you're driving around, you could do stuff on demand. Like I have some great guys in the dojo that do this all the time. They drive around, they have True People Search up on their laptop, they pull up on a house, they see it, they put the address in, they do it right off True People Search, they pull it completely for free, and then they call through their Google Voice number. So there's ways for you to do it totally for free and also ways for you to do it with just spending a little bit of money. All right, let's go to this next phase. We're going to go to going to a meetup, right? Meetups, guys, are so important. And I can't emphasize this enough. Real estate is a social business. It is a social business. It's a relationship business. It might as well be called relationship estate, in my opinion. So you need to get out. You need to go to meetups. I remember the first meetup that I went to was South Jersey Real Estate Investors Group, ran by my boy Justin Eaton and Kevin Santos. They did a phenomenal job. I went out there. I met some great people that I still talk to today that helped put me on the path of real estate investing, on the path of financial freedom. And all this time, after 4 years, I'm now on the planning committee, and we bring in some great speakers, and we have a lot of great connections. So get to your meetup. If there isn't a meetup in your area, start one, guys. Start one. Go on Facebook, go on Instagram, go on wherever, post, things on, like posts out there or whatever it is. Anybody that's looking to attend a real estate investor meetup, reach out to me. I'm putting together something. We could grab some drinks and go to Topgolf. We could do something fun. Whatever the case might be, start it if it's not around you, because they're so valuable, and it relates directly to rule number 3 of good practices of lead gen. Tell everybody what you do. It's completely free to do that. It's free to start a meetup. In most cases, it's free to go to a meetup. I know South Jersey Real Estate Investors Group, we don't charge anybody. Number 2 on this particular list is join Facebook groups and post and JV, right? So what I'm going to explain here is if you're on Facebook, right? And I'm just going to use like Birmingham, Alabama as like an example. If I'm in Birmingham, Alabama, and I want to get closer into my real estate investing, I want to generate more organic leads, I'm going to go and search up groups on Facebook, such as Birmingham off-market real estate, Birmingham distressed properties, Birmingham wholesaling, Birmingham real estate investors. And I'm going to go into those groups and I'm going to post. And the post doesn't have to be anything crazy, right? You could say something just as simple as like, hey, my name's Frankie D'Astoli. I'm a real estate investor in the area. I'm looking for more deals. I'm also a wholesaler. If you have any deals, please send them to me. I'd be looking to buy them, or we could JV on these deals. Something very, very simple along those lines, right? Or on the vice versa side, there are other people, most of them wholesalers, that are posting in these Facebook groups about deals that they have. Those are organic leads for you guys, right? And buying properties off wholesalers, like I said, I wholesale for 3 years. Buying properties off wholesalers is a great way to go. Some wholesalers are going to absolutely bang you out. Like they're not going to let you make any money on the deal. But I have gotten a handful of phenomenal deals from wholesalers. And I've also moved a ton of really, really great deals with happy investors that they're making some great money on those deals. So that's a great form of organic lead. And you could even JV on those wholesale deals. Reach out to that wholesaler, right? Say, hey, my name's Frankie. I'm a wholesaler in the area. Also, I see you have this deal in Birmingham, Alabama. I have a few investors that might be interested in it. Are you open to JVing on this deal? And then if you bring an investor to that deal, you could collect a referral fee, or you could split the fee with the original wholesaler, things like that. Totally free to do it, guys. And what I will say on the Facebook groups, I mentioned over here when I get into some other stuff, but on the cold calling, if you guys want my templates on these, if you guys want my scripting on these, feel free to reach out to me. I give all of this stuff within the dojo to all of my students, but feel free to reach out to me. If you're listening to this episode, I'll give you my templates on Facebook groups and cold calling completely for free for you guys. The next one we're going to talk about is door hangers. You get a little creative with this. Go on Vistaprint, create a cool graphic about you buying houses. Make sure it's got a little pocket for you to put your business card in. You could get 100 door hangers off Vistaprint for $57.99. It's $58, guys. And door hanging and door knocking, again, completely organic. In some cases, completely free. If you spend some money on door hangers and pull in some lists and leads, that might cost you a couple bucks. But you go out to these properties, guys, knock on these people's doors. And I know this is a petrifying thing, but what I will say is usually when you face hardship, that's like the best way to actually get the result that you're looking for. And if you go out and you knock on doors, you're going to put a face to the name for a lot of these people. And a lot of these people, what you need to understand, they're getting calls all day. They're getting texts all day. They're getting pieces of direct mail. They're getting things that are geared towards them and ads for them to sell their home. If you could get in front of them and you could talk to them and you could show them you're a real person. You're approachable, right? Now they know they don't associate you with some scammy person that's trying to buy their house. They associate you with a real, tangible person that was at their door that they met face to face. And that, guys, can be an absolute game changer. I say it from experience, it is a game changer. And if they don't answer, put a door hanger on their door, right? And even so, if you know that like they have a Ring camera or some sort of security camera, people check that all the time. I check it all the time. No matter where I am, I get a notification, somebody's at my door, boom, I'm looking at it immediately, right? I want to make sure like there's nothing crazy going on. Again, maybe I'm a little paranoid. But having said that, you do that, people see who you are. They see that you put that. When they come home and they see that they're going to be able to, relate you two together, and they're going to say, this is a real person that was at my door that's asking about selling my home. And even if they're not looking to sell in the future, most of the time they're going to keep that door hanger, or they're just going to remember you and be able to, get in contact with you. What I will say about door hangers, what I will say about knocking for doors, make sure you're not knocking on tenants' doors. That's a waste of your time, for the most part, unless you have some sort of creative way that you plan on going about it. But for the most part, it's a waste of your time. It's disturbing a tenant. It's not necessarily worth it. Make sure you're doing door knocking and door hangers on actual owner occupants. The last one, go on Zillow for sale by owners and connect with sellers. And I've seen this in certain markets. This could be a great way to generate leads. In other markets, it's not the best because there's just not a ton out there. But again, Zillow is completely free when you go on that for sale by owner and you start connecting with sellers. And if they're posting their property on for sale by owner, guess what, guys? There's some level of motivation. Whether it's high or not, it's to be determined, but there's some level of motivation. Again, you can message me for my template. I'll send that to you guys completely free. Here's my secrets to lead gen success. Number one, you got to combo things together, right? Think of like a boxer, right? If a boxer goes in a fight and all he does is throw a jab, he's not going to get very far. We got to start comboing things together. All sellers respond differently, right? For me personally, I am someone who answers my texts at all times. I'm answering texts all the time, right? You text me, within minutes, I'm answering my text. The only time I'm not is if I'm making a Frankie D'Astoli show or if I'm doing some sort of mentorship or coaching that's taking me an hour or so. That's the only time that you're going to have delayed answers from me. But I will never really answer a direct mail, right? I get direct mail all the time from people that are trying to buy my houses. I throw them all in the trash, right? I'm not someone who's going to pick up direct mail and call that postcard. But if you text me, most of the time I'm answering. That's the same with all sellers. If you have a seller who's older, who's lived in a property for 30 years, they might answer a piece of direct mail, or they might pick up the phone, but they might not be tech savvy and they might not answer a text, right? So, or an email. So you want to make sure that you're comboing. If you pull a list, cold call it, cold text it, door knock it, email it, postcard it, do as much as you can to capitalize and optimize on that list because everybody responds differently. Number two, consistency. You got to be organized. You got to be disciplined. This is where I see most investors fail when it comes to lead generation. They send out one campaign on direct mail, or they spend one night cold calling, or they send out 50 texts and they don't get any answers, and they stop there. You need to be organized. You need to be disciplined. My best students in the dojo are ones that set concrete times on when they're going to do forms of lead gen. They say, I'm going to do my cold calls and my texting from 8:30 in the morning to 9:30 in the morning, and then again from 5:30 to 6:30. And they do it 5 or 6 days a week. They're consistent with it, and that's how they get deals, and they're disciplined as they're going on. And the last one is tracking. We got to make sure that we're tracking, right? We want to make sure that we get the best return on investment, right? Because if you're doing a whole direct mail campaign and you're not tracking the returns that you're getting on it, or if you're doing cold calling, or you're driving for dollars and you're not tracking that, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's very, very important that we know that and we go into what we're doing. So if we're getting really good returns on door knocking, we got to double down. We got to double down on door knocking, right? If we're not getting good returns on emailing, it's a waste of our time. Let's cut that. Last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is it's really important to really set your foundation, right? Where do we direct efforts? That's what we need to know. So if you're listening to this and you're totally new and you're like, I have no idea like what I even want to do in real estate investing, or even if you're seasoned, we just approached the new year, these are some really good questions to ask yourself. Number one, is this going to be a side hustle or is this going to be a business, right? That's really, really important. Number two is, what are your goals? And again, if you're having questions about what your goals are, listen to the past 2 episodes of the Frankie D'Astoli Show, where we talk about creating meaningful goals and we talk about how to actually achieve those goals. How much time can you dedicate per week or per day, right? And this goes directly into, is this a side hustle or is this a business, right? I need to know these things. I don't want to have false expectations. I don't want to tell myself, hey, I'm going to call 100 people a day, and then I get absolutely burnt out working my W-2 9 to 5, and I get home and the kids are wanting to hang out with me, and now I'm getting upset because I'm not making my calls, right? You need to set realistic expectations with yourself. Just like I always say, we got to set realistic expectations with our sellers. How much money will you plan to contribute, if any at all, right? Will you plan to contribute money on this? Are you going to do this totally organically, totally free, $0 out of pocket? Are you going to spend up to that 200, or are you going to get serious? You're going to send out a direct mail campaign. You're going to do some more, cost, more things that are coming out of pocket. Next question, last question. What are your strengths and areas of opportunity? We need to know this, right? Are you really good at getting in front of people and being personable and getting on the phone and doing cold calling? Are you bad with marketing? We should know that, right? Are you vice versa? All of these things. Are you good at analyzing deals? You're just not good at finding deals. All of these questions are good questions to ask yourself, and you really, really want to know this before you move any further. And I'm going to wrap it there, guys. Thank you so much for listening. You can follow me at Frankie D'Astoli _REI. Like I said, DM me, guys. I'm answering every single DM. If I don't answer your DM, you could publicly post that I'm not answering your DM. Don't actually do that. Some of them might be sending the request, but I'll make sure I check them every day. Also, you can go to Distoli'sDojo.rei.com if you're interested in more mentorships, coaching, or courses. And for anybody that's listening to this show, I'm going to give you guys 10% off on all courses and mentorship programs at Distoli's Dojo. Use the code TFDS10, the Frankie D'Astoli Show, 10 for 10% off. I really appreciate you guys listening. I had a blast doing this video. We're going to do a lot more how-to videos to start the year. And as I always say, pray the rosary, buy real estate. I appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.